hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. The question is, where are they?
This way.
The nefarious, reprehensible, and callous character of Sheev Palpatine is someone we always understood as being irredeemable and cunning, with plans ready to back up with other plans, fingers in several pies, and always pulling the strings across the galaxy on people that need something to believe in or follow.
Excellent. Everything is going as planned.
And lest we forget the craft of both Ian McDiarmid and Ian Abercrombie expertly selling the sheer malicious hatred of the character to ensure audiences want to see this fucker get what he deserves.
Good.
And when we reach that point in the timeline, it's a cathartic payoff for audiences and in-universe characters alike, with almost 30 years of abuse to the galaxy that asshole implemented in the name of peace and prosperity just because he hated one faith and the idea of anyone having complete autonomy.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
But despite what you think of him, and I don't blame you for thinking the worst of him, you have to admit he's a fascinating and compelling villain. The bastard killed his own master, manipulated Dooku and Anakin into becoming his apprentices, orchestrated an entire war, convinced an army to commit mass genocide with prejudice, and convinced the Senate it was a good idea to keep him in power. And that's just naming the game changers in his involvement, but what about the smaller attempts at claiming power over the years? This Sith is indeed a busy man, but let's take a look at one of those times, shall we? After escaping the destruction of Bane's cruiser from the last episode, our gang return to their ship, but a few of the clones become distracted by a few drops of blood on the floor. Anakin's informed of this and grows rather concerned as Ahsoka chases after Danal to check in on the trooper, but as she realises the blood's colour is different to what a clone's would be, it's revealed that Bane is in fact alive and killed Danal.
Fuck.
Bane acquires a V-19 and manages to escape, with Anakin and Ahsoka reporting back to the temple of what transpired. Sometime later, Bane is approached again by Sidious for an extension to his job, where Sidious wants Cad to choose 4 children from the holocron and bring them to Mustafar. Cut back to the council trying to sense the children through the Force, and they manage to deduce the 2 possible victims whilst one has already been lost. Anakin is sent to Naboo as a means to catch Bane out if Obi-Wan fails to catch him on Rhodia, which of course he does.
Who's the dumbass?
Whoa! Hey, how about a little professional courtesy here?
What's that, dumbass?
Say it again.
You want me to?
I dare you.
Dumbass.
And as Bane arrives on Naboo, Ahsoka manages to grab him when he arrives in Jangwa City. After being caught, Annie, Mace, Obi and Ahsoka begin to question him, with Bane having to be forced into cooperation through joint mind influence, to which Bane resists, but it causes him a great deal of pain, so to avoid that again, he chooses to comply. Afterwards, Anakin's sent to inform the Chancellor of what occurs, whilst Obi and Mace take Bane back to his hideout to retrieve the holocron. But upon their arrival, Bane lures them into a trap and gets away.
What's that, dumbass?
Say it again.
You want me to?
I dare you.
Dumbass.
A few puns later, and Mace manages to grab the holocron and they escape the hideout. Meanwhile, Annie and Ahsoka are checking Bane's old ship for clues as to where he might have gone, when the answer has been staring them in the face the whole time, and they deduce that he stopped off on Mustafar for fuel in between systems, so this could possibly be where he dropped off the kids. Their assumptions are correct though, and after engaging with the nursing bots that tried to stop them, they manage to grab the children and flee from Mustafar, with Anakin getting a look at his own future.
I do not fear the dark side as you do.
And we close on our duo returning to the temple and discovering that Bane managed to escape, but the council are pleased that the list is returned to them.
Son of a bitch, you know, you're really no help at all, you know that?
So that's the conclusion to another arc, and what a watch this was. We had ups and downs, with the Jedi coming up short repeatedly to a simple bounty hunter, and a little step forward to understanding what Palpatine's goals are here.
I foresee an army of Force-talented spies in my service.
In breaking this down, we need to start with the thoughts of a Cad Bane. This man made a statement to both fans and Jedi alike here in his debut showing by proving that his ingenuity, resourcefulness and intelligence are not to be trifled with. Bane is always a pleasure to watch, he steals the show whenever he's around and validates his position as the strongest bounty hunter in this time. To see how comfortable he was with murdering a clone in cold blood and then just kidnapping children as if he was picking a grocery list truly demonstrates how apathetic he is as an individual.
I'll take on any job for the right price.
The stoic nature surrounding his character is chilling but captivating to say the least, and I cannot wait to see his return down the road in another show-stealing encounter. As for the children of the Force, they are constantly under threat by just being Force sensitive at this point. They don't even need to be trained to be deemed a concern. And as for Palp's intention for them, it is something I've already discussed, but I mentioned that it is delivered on in a roundabout way by the time of the Empire when we have the Inquisitors, which is likely what he's referring to when he mentions here about training these younglings to become spies. Though I wonder if maybe by spies he could mean sleeper agents that can be activated in a similar fashion to the clones, in case he ever needs a security detail or Winter Soldier level takedown on one system or another. Whatever the case may be, it would have been a genius plan had this actually worked, and he was able to indoctrinate and condition them from youth rather than accepting the corrupted scraps that became Inquisitors, who generally wind up joining out of fear rather than loyalty or faith. The hilarious thing though is that this isn't the only time Palp tries to implement this idea, as in Season 2, Episode 10 of Rebels, we see this entire plot resurface.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
With Ezra, Kanan, Zeb, and Ahsoka going to investigate the disappearance of more children that are being snatched by Vader's Inquisitors for the same reasons, which is pretty fucked when you consider that had this succeeded, the former younglings would have been hunting down more younglings to endure the same shit that they went through, repeating a vicious cycle which would only serve to strengthen the very fabric of the dark side. Also, it's interesting to consider that Anakin possibly murdered these younglings after going to great lengths to save them here. I do wonder as well though, how far the Jedi would have gone to investigate their disappearances here if they never found Bane out, and could it have led to Palps in the end if they did? One thing I did realise though during this is that the Jedi are not as virtuous as they like to believe, given they keep a list of known Force sensitives and likely access the Force to locate more across the galaxy to continue the legacy of the Jedi. But here's my concern: what do they do if the parents deny them? Are the children blacklisted from serving should they decide to later on?
You can't sit with us!
Are the children taken regardless, and if so, how does this make the Jedi any different to what Bane's doing here? The difference, I guess, would be slapping on the noble intent for their lives, which in my opinion doesn't make it any better. You shouldn't press your ideals or beliefs onto a child when it surrounds something so monumental or life-changing, and really the Jedi should know better.
Oh no, he's got a point.
Also, they dropped their morals with haste when it came to getting the answers they needed out of Cad. To inflict pain on him here for their own self-interest doesn't feel like a particularly Jedi thing to do. But we do have to remember as well that it was in fact Anakin who suggested it, and I guess they would have gone to any lengths to guarantee the safe return, but it's just something to keep an eye on when it comes to the Jedi and their noble intent. Speaking of Anakin though, he takes his first steps onto the ashes of time here by getting a hard long look at his future homestead, burial ground, and location of a twisted spiritual awakening where in Vader's Comics by Charles Soule, he discovers a deeper significance and connection to the dark side buried on this world, and it's here where Vader sees exactly what Anakin did to become who he is and tries to extinguish him. Seriously, it's an incredible comic series if you've not read it.
Do it.
So to have him make a save at this magnitude here, only to undo it in a couple of years' time, is some fucked up writing on the part of the Clone Wars crew, but very cleverly seeded. So overall, this is an excellently rewarding addition to the series, and as an arc itself, this entire escapade makes for one exciting introduction to a fan-favourite hunter, necessary progression for the Chosen One and his apprentice, and an insight to where Palps is pulling the strings, like quizzing Anakin about the Jedi's movements to ensure he can move on to the next piece of his plan in this wider game of chess. That's going to do it from me though for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like what you saw here, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to keep up to date with everything else I'm doing. And until next week, everyone, take care, and may the Force be with you.